Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and like, follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Spiritual Grind. We are in studio again.
Good morning.
Right. Be knocking on.
Right. Or the, what are they called? The EVPs?
EVPs, yeah.
The embodied voices.
Yeah.
It would be kind of cool if we caught one while we were doing a recording.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because the audio is so good on these things.
Yeah.
They're not really broad spectrum wideness, so even you could have somebody in your ear and those mics wouldn't pick it up.
Oh, I see. Well, and I guess the editing part of it too probably captures.
Yeah, I have a lot
that.
of all the white noise is removed automatically. But anyway, well,
it makes editing easy, but
it does,
it's unfortunate that it quite possibly flushes out any amazing EVP.
Yeah, it's all I have that all set up to where it automatically does it when you upload.
What's the E stand for? External voice phenomenon.
Yep.
Phenomenon.
External voice. Is it external?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, you ready for the topic of the day?
You know I am. Do tell.
So this is the topic of the day. The topic of the day is everybody has that little inner voice that we talk to ourselves with.
Yeah, we've talked about it on other podcasts before.
Yep. And we have, it's been a minute since we talked about it. I think it's been a while.
Oh, no, we talked about it on the last podcast, actually, when we were talking about.
Well, then that's a good little
AI and.
Oh, yeah. I guess, was that last podcast? Huh? Well, I don't know. For some reason, that was my topic that came up in the shower this morning. Was
the internal voice?
The internal voice. What is it? Is it your subconscious mind? Is it your conscious mind? Is it your higher self? Is the voice changed by if you're working on a belief that you like or you don't like? And there's many different voices. Like we refer to our monkey mind. Yeah. That's a negative voice in our head. That tells us all the bad stuff that could happen. Right.
Or creates those stories that are lies.
Yes. And then you have that voice in your head that says, that's a great, like yesterday, or a day before yesterday that happened when we were all talking, and it was like, that's a great idea. Now, that voice, how do you distinguish that voice? How do you know which voice is which?
Wow, that's a good question. It's a beautiful topic.
It is. It came up in my shower thought, because I was like, when do you know it's the right voice? Because I have, it's for me, it's a feeling.
Exactly.
And then I have to look at it and say, are my belief systems or prior history creating the negative voice? Or is it my subconscious mind saying, hey, you might want to look at this?
Yeah.
There you go, Dr. Jenny. Take over from here. It's all yours. You got the floor. I'm going to sit back here and snore.
Don't snore. It's hard to get that out, especially if I'm talking. That is one of those $1 million questions.
Yeah,
And it is a trained technique to be able to discern between the two frequencies of information.
Okay.
And it is
there's multiple frequencies in there because
there is
the conscious mind.
There are multiple frequencies,
okay.
But whenever you're new and you're just learning, you start small.
Yeah.
Don't try to interpret all of them, especially if you're, for example, like highly sensitive and open and kind of an open channel to where you have multiple audio frequencies coming in and you've not really trained yourself to know what they are or deal with them, it's easier if you take it in bite-sized things, just like everything else we teach.
Yeah.
And so if you're new to it and you're really kind of just being presented with this question, the first one that I would recommend identifying on a pretty regular basis would be that monkey mind one that tries its best to always keep beliefs, patterns, and programs in place because it's fearful of the change. And it's the one that usually will stimulate that fear frequency, that revenge frequency, that anger frequency. It usually is coupled with those kinds of heavier emotions. Oh, that person did this to me, and so I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this to that person. Or, it made me embarrassed, and so I'm going to be mad at that person because that wasn't right. When you're having those internal dialogues that look kind of like that, that's that monkey mind voice that we talk about.
For me, I identify it by asking myself a question.
Yeah.
A lot. And most of the time the question is, what's the energy behind it?
Or the feeling.
I was just down at the Jeep dealership taking the Gladiator in for service to be done because we're having some issues. And I was talking to the rental lady, which is the same lady I talked about in the previous podcast, actually.
Right.
Patrice.
Yeah.
And she was talking to, we were just casual conversation like normal as we're going through paperwork. And she was like, yeah, my gut feeling is telling me that, I'm going to, I need to not do this job anymore. And I said, well, what's that exact gut feeling? What is that? And she said, well, that inner voice in your head says they're going to eliminate your job. And then so I just flat out asked her, what's the energy behind that in your mind?
Yeah.
What is it? Oh, downsizing or blah, blah, blah. She's going, I said, so what's the energy behind it though? For you to have this in your head, you have to have an energy which creates an emotion, and the emotion, and most of the time that emotion is based off previous history or belief. And so what's the energy behind all of that? Well, and I was like, have you been downsized from a job before? You see, what had happened was, I'm like, okay.
What had happened was,
yeah, and that's exactly that's what I did to her
band camp.
She said, well, you see, what had happened was, and she started saying, I'm like, oh yeah, what happened was, and she just laughed, and I said, well, because you just explained to yourself that this voice in your head is being manipulated by a previous incident.
Yeah.
Which is the negative energy that's behind it.
Right. Which is that what we call that monkey mind dialogue that goes on. That's not a gut feeling. That's not an intuitive
No, that's not intuition.
Nudge.
Yeah.
That's a fear component.
Yeah.
That's causing the monkey mind to keep you from having to experience history all over again.
Yeah.
By convincing you to do something different, not because it's aligned,
right.
Not because it's coming from higher self, but because that monkey mind dialogue is actually, it thinks it's there to keep you from experiencing harm.
Right. And sometimes there's a positive behind it.
There is.
Because if you haven't addressed the belief or the situation that happened, then monkey mind is giving you this story because they don't want you to have to go through it again.
Right. The monkey mind does have good intention. It's there to want to keep you safe and protected.
And doing absolutely nothing.
Physically, mentally, emotionally. That's what it thinks it's trying to do.
Because the monkey mind is lazy. It's the easiest thing for them to do is to keep you in a state of
complacency
and not going outside the box.
Don't go visit the unknown. It's scary.
Whatever you do, don't take a chance in your life ever.
Don't do it, girl. Don't do it, girl.
And so, that was how the conversation was. And I said, here's the best thing you can do. Ask yourself, what's the energy behind it? What is the history? What has happened in the past? And if there's something coming up, then say, okay, if that is going to happen, why? And what's the worst case scenario? I've learned this from Dr. Jenny. Create the worst case scenario that you could make in your head. Oh my God, I have to take care of my son, and if I get laid off, then I don't have my income. I'm like, you have unemployment.
Right.
You'll have unemployment.
That's exactly right. You take the worst case scenario, write it down, identify it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Worst case thing you could possibly come up with. Give it a solution.
Yep.
Or 2 or 3.
Yep.
And it no longer has power.
That's right. And that's what that was the conversation we had while I was sitting there. And you had, and then we got into, then if I do that, then I can't quit saving money to get the store up. I'm like, I was here like 6 months ago. You said you were still saving. It don't take that much money to start a store online. And she was like, well, I figured I need about $15,000.
Well, what happened was...
And so I was doing my research, and my research tells me I need about $15,000 so I could market it right and blah, blah. And she's going through all this stuff. I'm like, you don't. You have the best tool that you can have in your hand right now. And that is AI.
Yeah.
And so remove the what ifs. Remove this societal taught stuff that this inner voice is telling you.
Yeah.
And just do it, because it's your monkey mind and your energy and a fear of failing.
Yeah.
That's got you held back.
That's right. It's got you jammed up and not taking any steps at all.
So that's what brought up the question.
Deer in the headlight syndrome is what I like to call it.
Because she said, well, how do you know which voice is which? And so that's how the whole conversation got brought in. Because when I was in the shower, I was like, how do you teach somebody to identify that voice?
Yeah.
Because there are multiple voices and versions of it.
Of course.
You have the gut feeling, you have the intuition, you have the monkey mind, and you have your conscious thought.
Yeah.
Then you have your subconscious mind.
Right.
And then in some people's beliefs, they have the little devil on one shoulder and God on the other.
Yeah, it can look like many, many different things, whatever the person has created in their own bubble.
Right.
I think that for beginners or novice coming in, the easiest thing to teach is to ask yourself that question. How does it feel?
Yeah.
When that story comes across in your inner dialogue, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel held back? Does it make you feel fearful, worrisome? Like, check in with how it makes you feel. Find that frequency. Find that vibration.
Yeah.
And practice doing that.
Right. And that's what I told her. I said, when you ask yourself a question, you're generally speaking, your very first emotional response is the right one.
That's right.
And like for example, if you thought about doing the store, what was your very first emotional reaction? Oh, I was excited about it.
Yeah.
So why'd you stop? And because generally speaking, and you can ask psychologists, anybody that teaches about this topic, that your very first emotional response is the right one.
Right. That's usually the true, core, authentic response.
Yeah, because then there's before the monkey mind kicks in.
The monkey mind kicks in and it starts trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You might fail.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What if you fail? Oh my God. Oh my God.
And that's where the thought come in this morning when I was in the shower. Is like, how do we teach that? And we teach about this, but we don't specifically teach about this subject.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've taught about the inner voices.
Yeah,
the inner dialogue. We talk about it being there.
Right.
And we talk about what it does and different things. But I think the very first thing to bring to your awareness is when that conversation comes about, stop right there, bring into the awareness, okay, how do I, just like you taught her, just how does that make me feel?
Right.
And if you're new to the work, write it down on something in a journal, in your phone, on the note page, because you cannot remember every single thing that's being brought to every day.
Right.
Until you are many years into practicing this, or you have some photogenic memory, you'll forget. And the key to all this is awareness and habit changing.
Right. And this is what I want to touch on this a minute.
Yeah.
Because like I told her, I was like, that very first impression and that very first thought is right. Because, and here's a way to kind of give you a modern day or reality thought
Check
through
on
it. Is, do you know when you check out at Walmart or you check out at Publix, whatever it is, and you go down the aisle and you're standing there waiting to check out, and there's something in one of those aisles, you pick it up and you buy it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we do. I do it all the time.
Right.
Okay. When was the last thing you bought there? She can't remember. I'm like, okay. So if it was such a negative, would you not remember that impulse? Because that's the reason why retail stores call those the CTAs or the impulse sections, is because they're impulse buy sections.
Right.
Because people don't think through it.
Right.
They just grab it because it's last minute, and they'll grab it, and so it's an impulse.
Yeah.
And so it's that initial first thought.
Right, because they're distracted on getting through the line, getting in the line, getting checked out. What's the next thing I got to do when I leave here? Pre-planning their next steps of the day.
That's
so
right.
they're distracted. And so when they find something that visually is interesting at those little impulse stations,
Yeah.
or, oh, you know what? New candy's out. That sounds good. Let me throw that in the basket. Or,
Right.
oh, I've got a child or grandchild or myself. Okay, here, let me do that. You don't pay attention.
Right.
You're not buying it from wait a minute. Is this something I really need, and am I going to utilize it? You're just throwing it in the basket because it looked shiny.
And it was the first reaction.
That's right.
And I told her, so how many of those things that are in those aisles that you have just sitting around not being used?
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't think I have any. Matter of fact, I got one yesterday, and there's a half-eaten roll of Rolos. And I was like, see, you're using it. It was an impulse buy. It was your first reaction. You bought it.
Yeah.
And so you know why they don't put those out in the middle of the grocery store? Because then you have time to think.
Right.
They don't want you to think. They want you to react, have impulse.
Right.
And that's what your healthy conscious mind wants you to do. Because if those Rolos are sitting out in the middle of the thing and not in a great big bag,
right.
Just a single Rolo, nobody's going to buy them. Because then they know they're going to buy it right there. And so all that little monkey mind stuff starts coming into play. If you buy it now, you're going to eat it now, and then it's going to ruin your supper. Or why would I buy the small one when you get the big bag? Or, all the negative stuff comes into play.
Do I really need all that chocolate and sugar?
Right.
And what's it going to do to my diet? And I don't need the extra calories. Right.
Right. And so so that's what the whole kind of conversation went into, was that kind of like a grocery store scenario for some reason. And I was like, why do you think all the good stuff is on the outside?
And what did she say?
She's like, what do you mean all the good stuff?
Say more.
I said, well, all the good stuff is on the outside of the stores. You have the produce right in the beginning when you come in because it's fresh, it's new, smells good.
Yeah.
And then the proteins are always wrapped around the outside of the canned goods around a grocery store. And she looks at me, she's like, huh.
And then you usually will have the cheeses,
Yeah.
the milks.
That's right.
The fresh stuff that's perishable.
That's
and
right.
It makes a whole big circle.
And I said, so why do you think that they put it there? And she was like, I don't know. I didn't ever really even noticed.
Yeah.
I said, they put it there. And you did it because, you don't notice it because to you it feels normal.
Uh-huh.
But I can tell you back in the day, I remember when you would walk into a grocery store and the first thing you walked through was the canned goods.
Yeah, because they were all stacked in some organizational
There'd be a great
pyramid,
big pyramid thing.
And a big display, especially if they were the item that was on sale. Del Monte green bean sale.
Jolly Green Giant.
Right.
Would be right there in front of you when you walk in.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I said, so think through your own processes. Why do you think that all the canned goods and all the processed foods are in the middle? And then the coolers have been all moved to the outside, and the freezers are actually in aisles. And she said, well, I was like, I don't know. And she goes, well, I always buy my freezer stuff last. You're right. You're exactly right. Now, why would you do that? Now, why? What part of your mindset would think The last thing that I'm going to buy is freezer. Oh, I don't want it to thaw out before I get home. You're right. And so if they put that freezer section the minute you walked in, which would be your monkey mind, you wouldn't buy anything because you'd be afraid during your shopping that all of your freezer stuff would be thawed out before you got home. That's the monkey mind thought. Because the reality is that food, as long as it doesn't drop below 32 degrees or warmer than 32 degrees, which on average takes 6 hours from a frozen point to 32 degrees is 6 hours. And that I know that because I said, that's your monkey mind making up things. That's the monkey mind thought process that comes in after you walk in or after you do things in your life. Is that simple thought of my frozen foods are going to be thawed out before I get home. And because of that, you buy those fancy freezer bags that absolutely do nothing.
But what made the store design it that way? Because they're all pretty much designed that way.
Well, yeah, you can thank Walmart for doing that when they first started doing big groceries. They're the ones that came out and changed the grocery store layouts because they studied it and all this other stuff. And the reason why is the thought processes that we're actually identifying right now.
Is it that traditionally people go to like the back of the store, come down the middle aisle first?
Well, that come from a 1940s study or something when people actually had ice boxes.
Okay.
Because, when you would reach in and get your items out of a grocery store back then, you would either get your meats from a live butcher.
Yeah.
Or it would come from a freezing section inside of it, literally a dry ice box.
I see.
And they would always tell you because dry ice doesn't hard freeze food.
Right.
Unless you leave it in there for a number like days.
Yeah.
And so then so that's how started it, was that would be the last thing they would buy. But so then, the other part of that is the conscious mindset.
Okay.
Is the grocery stores used to put all the canned food as soon as you walk in because they consciously think to themselves, and it doesn't make any sense that they can buy this canned food and it's going to be good 3 years from now because it's got shelf-stable food.
Okay.
And so they would buy it because it's safe to buy. And so that's why they would, as soon as you walked in, all the canned foods was right there.
Okay.
Because that was back then was the impulse buy because they will last forever because you're coming off the Depression and the war.
I see.
And so all this has been trained thought over the years. And so that's how even retailers and all these people use this actual concept of the different minds, the voices in your head talking to you to sell things to you. And so, and why we got into this conversation, her and I have no idea about the grocery store, but I thought it was a great analogy for her to understand. I think it was just given to me.
It was probably the way she could understand the information because I'm not putting the pieces together yet in my own mind, but.
Okay. So as I sat there for 45 minutes. We were waiting on the service guy.
Yeah, I get it.
And so the whole conversation and it ended up going full circle. But even still, when I walked away from the conversation, I was like, I don't know if she understood that. She did, but she didn't. The real depth of it. I think on the surface, she understood what I was saying.
Right.
Because that voice in your head in that moment, in that initial response, is always the right voice to listen to on something that's positive. So if you were to, the impulse buys that and you can't even identify it because it was never a thought. You just do it.
I mean, I see where you're going with it. I don't necessarily agree that initial impulse thought is
that's for you, Danielle.
Right. This is.
Sorry,
me.
Yesterday one of our listeners said she's always correcting you, and I think she enjoys it.
No, it's just us with our two different perspectives agreeing to disagree.
Yeah, no,
honestly.
it's fine.
I don't necessarily agree with that perspective on the very first knee-jerk response is the correct one because it depends on where you're at in your journey.
Mm-hmm.
if you're still living in a victimhood template or a self-sabotage template, your knee-jerk reaction could quite well be to do something, especially if you've not identified that monkey mind voice versus that inner voice of higher self. If you've not taken the time to really study those and you've got that confused, then, and you're reacting instead of actually responding after contemplation, then you'll respond from a trauma drama place and create more of what you're getting.
Correct.
And that knee-jerk response doesn't always prove to be the most accurate response for some people, depending on what their perspective is and what template they're working from.
Right. So, this section I'd like to actually touch about a little bit.
Sure.
There's a study out there called the Watson-Riley study.
Watson-Riley study.
It's a sales strategy thing from years ago. Their theory is that anytime somebody is negative or uncomfortable with something, they will immediately respond with a question.
Okay.
So, for example, you say, "Are you ready to buy the car today?" And you're like, "Oh," you get that inner energy like, "Ooh, yeah, he just put me under the gun." And then instead of saying, "Oh, that was harsh under the gun," they say, Well, what do you mean by that? Why? Or they go into a question. In our subconscious mind, when we're dealing with a negative thought process or a negative history previous or a negative belief, you will automatically do that to delay conscious thought of answering. That's their theory.
Yeah, I see where that theory is beneficial because subconsciously you're looking for more data and more input before you make that decision.
It puts you in what they say is it puts you in an uncomfortable spot, and you're buying yourself conscious time by asking a question.
It can, for sure, but it can also be revealing that you don't feel like you have enough information or data to answer the question. So therefore, you're asking questions for more data so that you can make an intellectual decision and committed response.
And according to the study that I read, I read this years ago. I don't even know if it's still around, but they would say that those that are really engaged will actually do a question that's on topic. So that means that instead of saying something stupid like when you get, "Are you ready to buy today?" They have that pressure, that uncomfortableness, and then they snap with a stupid question. That's not even on topic really. They'll have a question that just deters conscious thought.
Well, I don't know. Is it supposed to rain?
Right. Well, or can you do the paperwork? It's something that's way off topic. It's not in line with the subject.
Right.
And then they also say that if they're engaged but not ready and don't have enough information, they will respond with a question to delay conscious thought. But it's on topic, and so the like, for example, "Are you ready to buy today?" "Well, what's my percentage rate?" That's an on topic line,
right?
Instead of responding with, "Oh, well, I want to look at this other car first. Can we go look at that?" That's off topic. They've already picked a car, and now the salesman's asking them to sell, and so that's an off topic question, and so that's an uncomfortableness that they're not really engaged in it. But the other question or the another response is a inline question that delays conscious thought, and so that's the question that I'm getting at. That's where this all. Dang, I wish I'd have thought of this when I was there. I just talked myself right into it. That's how you tie the thought process of what's the worst case scenario. That's an inline question. Bam. That's what I should have said. You got to ask yourself that question. What's the worst case scenario? And that's an inline question with what the topic is.
Yeah, it can be. But if you, for example, and we're going to take the car thing for an example, if if you feel like your budget is not at a place where you can afford right now to have that car, and you go up and you visit the car lot and you are, touching it, feeling it, smelling it, collecting data of, okay, what's the
licking doorknobs.
what right? Yeah, one of your favorite things to own it is to lick it in various places. So you guys, buyer beware when you're out there.
There could be a couple of fancy sports cars out there that have been licked on the door handle.
Oh my God. So gross. You're going to have so many people out there wanting to wipe or hand sanitize the doorknob before they freaking open it. You just never know where James has been.
Yep, never know.
So if you're using it as a realistic vision board and you know that you're not there to make the purchase, but you don't want to be embarrassed or look silly because you're wrapped up in still what they think of you, or you don't want to just say to the person, listen, I want to own the car. I just financially am not at a place where I can do that yet or give myself permission to do that. I just came in to touch it, smell it, taste it, and all of that, because that kind of conversation will put you in that, oh my God, I'm kind of weird category.
Yeah.
And when you've got a salesman barking down your collar, that's not a conversation people generally are comfortable having because they find it embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I see.
So by asking a question, it's sometimes can be you trying to avoid further embarrassment. And so you'll find that asking a question gives you an outlet.
Agreed.
Well, what is
right?
What does the 2025 look like? Can I look at that first?
Yeah.
And that's you buying time. Yes, I agree with, so that you can devise that plan of having your friend call as your husband needing you to come home straight away, and you have an emergency exit plan.
That sounds like you've done that before.
No, I'm taking it off of a movie.
Oh.
And so that you don't have to give the person the truth, which your monkey mind has judged as, this is going to make you sound really stupid, and this guy's not going to take that on and not appreciate you tire kicking. So you've got to come up with a better way to escape plan, emergency. So I partially do agree with you, but then sometimes you go in and you have every intention to buy the car, and you don't yet have enough data to make a true informed purchase, because you want to know, I'm going to buy the car as long as we can come to terms on the interest rate or the retail value of the vehicle and what you're actually going to sell it for, or whatever those components are. So the question comes out of, okay, sure, I'm committed to buy, but what is my interest rate?
Right.
And so some of those questions will come out of that perspective.
Yeah.
Some of them will come out of a perspective of buying time, which I agree with. Mm-hmm. But you can also have them come from needing more knowledge about making the deal and negotiating the deal.
And when it comes to the internal thoughts or those voices that are in our head, it can be very confusing. And you have the conscious mind that is being confused constantly. Yeah. And like I was telling her earlier, it's easy to be confused, and let me tell you why. You just sit in front of the TV for an hour, and how many times have you been told different directions to do things? Like, for example, you'll see a car commercial for buying a car. It's on sale, and it's MSRP is down $5,000 off this weekend. And so you think, oh, it's inspiring you to buy a car. And then you have a church group that comes on TV and tells you not to overspend and overuse credit because and then on Sunday they ask you to pay their tithes. There's many different things.
Yeah.
Be healthy, have good food. The next commercial talks about some kind of prescription drug. So you're being yo-yoed constantly and becoming, and that confuses your conscious mind as well.
Yeah, because those are designed to trigger emotion.
That's right. That's what they're there for.
In the marketing world, I believe I've heard many times, if you can activate some emotion inside that person, then they become a customer easy.
I teach it.
Right, exactly. And so, it can be very easy to become emotionally charged and confused in all of that.
And it doesn't matter, like in the sales world, it doesn't matter what emotion it brings up.
Especially if you're still in that place of caring what other people think.
Right.
Especially if you're there. Because if you go to town and somebody's trying to, like, this just happened to us the other day at Walmart, and I see it all the time. You're going through Walmart and you've got that little phone person that wants to sell you their phone plan, and they will not give up. Oh my God, they are relentless.
They're trying to get an emotion out of you.
They literally will chase you down the aisle, even if you say no. So we walked by, and this sweet little girl she was new, I think. But
no, she wasn't new.
She was trying to get our attention and trying to get us just to give her a moment of our time so she could do her sales pitch. And the minute she started at us, I was the one closest to her because I have no qualms about saying, nope, no, thank you, not interested. But she kept on.
Right.
And then you engaged with her and said, we already have Spectrum or something.
Yeah, Verizon.
She's still, whatever you said to her, that was kind of like, okay, he's going to give me the open door access. So she then started following after us, but. And I was like, no, thank you. And you were like, nope, we're good. We already have it. Whatever it was.
Yeah, she's not new. She just nobody's been trained her how to sell. That's the key. But
nonetheless, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is you go into places in your world, and instead of being able to tell that person, no, thank you, you don't want to seem rude. You don't want to seem negative because you've logged that response as rude or negative. You'll sit there and you'll listen to the sales pitch. And then inadvertently, what ends up happening is they convince you to purchase or buy into the concept because you don't want to appear to be rude or whatever. That's a trap that can happen in the confusion state as well.
Yep. Agreed.
Especially if you're worried about what other people think of your interaction with your reality, with your day.
That's correct. And so, because this kind of marries together, because what you just described to me was learning to identify your conscious voice.
Yeah.
But in the process of that is that also identifies something else that all kind of ties together a little bit, was the salesman. I teach this, is when you get an emotion out of somebody, when you're in the process of a sales process and you get an emotion out of them, no matter what it is, that is your identifier.
Right.
If they go mad, like say if you're a car salesman and you bring up their car, oh, I'm so tired of this car, or or whatever. Now you've learned their emotion is telling you where to go next.
That's right. If
you become the hero and get them a new car, or if you're you bring up the payments, and that it makes them angry because their payment was supposed to be $100 less on the last car they bought.
Right.
And now you put yourself into a spot of, oh, I'm going to be the financial guider through this.
Yeah.
So let's identify. And so that emotion identifies the next process of the sales process to the salesman.
Right.
And your internal voices do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, if you brought up the car shopping thing. If you're there and when you go to walk in and you have this, oh my God, what everybody's going to be watching me, everybody, and I'm just looking at cars, but I'm not going to say I'm just looking because I want to build energy because I'm using it as an active vision board.
Yeah.
Because of that conscious thought is going to create that uncomfortable feeling, which is the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so the salesman reading that is going to, if they're going to come up, introduce themselves. And because of your subconscious mind and the feeling behind it, you're not just going to come out and say, I'm just here creating an actual vision board or a real life vision board. And because I'm going to buy this car, I'm just not going to buy it today because I can't afford it yet. Instead of doing that, us as humans, we protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that emotion is what the salesman would pick up on.
Right.
And now, so that's why that whole interaction becomes uncomfortable.
Yes. And that whole interaction then ends up being a depowerment.
Yes.
That's a Jennyism.
It's a Jennyism.
And let me explain.
Okay.
On the consumer side, you going in, creating the visual board and feeling like you're going to be hackled at because you're creating a vision board and you're saying, you know what? Listen, guy, I'm not ready to purchase. Back up. I'm just creating a real life vision board. I just want to touch it, smell it, whatever.
Taste it, but don't lick it.
That you're pretending and that energy gets read incorrectly, then you've given that power to them.
Right.
So then they're like, okay, well, what keeps you from wanting to buy it today? Well, my budget won't allow me. Oh, well, guess what?
But they're on sale, $5,000 off MSRP.
Cells, and I can get you financed. And so if I can get you a $50 a month car payment, does that fit into your budget? And then you're trapped. Then
Says
you're
no
sucked
salesman
in.
ever.
I'm just doing worst case scenario to get my point across.
Right. No, I understand.
You've given your power to them because you didn't tell a truth, because you monkey mind said it's better to do this instead of being embarrassed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you basically handed your power card over to the salesperson. So now you have to deal with more hackling. You finally have to come to terms with, listen, I'm not ready to buy yet. Because if you don't stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got a family emergency. I got to go.
That's right. Because if you don't stop the madness, next thing you know, you're in their office. They're like, okay, well, you know what? Let's just run your stuff and let's work up some numbers and let's just see where we are. And you're too embarrassed to say no and stop the trajectory of the train.
Right.
Then the Wayne train. Then you have.
Wow. Wow. That brings back a whole old memory.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about the Wayne train in a minute.
Right. Then you've basically said, okay, you know what? Here's my satchel full of power.
Oh, yeah.
And now you feel like you're being hackled into making a decision you're not ready to make.
Right.
And so at some point in all that interaction, you've got to regain control and power over your own power and stand up and say, no, I'm not ready to buy. And period. End of sentence. Stop the madness.
Right. And that's you're giving a prime example of controlling the inner voice, because that's what you're identifying in a realistic way, to where the conscious mind is doing the work here. And that's a way to identify some beliefs and patterns and things behind those inner voices.
Yeah, because if it just keeps making you feel worse and worse and yuckier, then, you're not in the right place.
Right.
That is monkey mind voice, and it keeps just creating another layer and another layer and another layer. So ultimately coming to the realization that the first question to ask straight out of the gate, how does this feel?
Right.
What is my emotional guidance system telling me?
Right.
When that statement was made in my inner dialogue head, what did it first make me feel like?
Right.
Did it make me feel yucky? Did it make me feel good? And then from there, you get to decide and discern what is your next step. what is the next thing you're going to do?
Right. And that's what, in that same study, in the Watson-Riley study, is that they talk about how that first impression and that first response is generally the right one, because if you had any negative history with it, then the initial response is not going to be that positive.
Well, it can be, or it can not
right.
be.
I agree.
And the trip up point is, if you've not practiced identifying monkey mind versus intuitive voice, when you are given a real live next action step, you won't be able to identify it as that, especially if you're in a victim self-sabotage still template. You won't even be able to identify the next action step that you are supposed to take, because you'll inadvertently still be trying to sabotage yourself, right? So there are some trip up points,
right,
that go rabbit hole, carrot sandwich much deeper than that. But on the surface, especially in the business world, I know they teach that if you're trying to make a big decision, you just go with that first knee-jerk response, and that's always the right one. But in my area of expertise and what I do, sometimes that's not always the right one.
Right. And so, I have sat through many, many, many war rooms of doing, strategic planning and guiding and for developing business. And I have sat in the middle of many of those conversations with hundreds and hundreds of people. Mm-hmm. And it always seems, as crazy as it may seem, that I can remember that it always seems to fall on the very first idea that came out.
And that in that scenario, yes. Yeah. And that's a good premise to go on. But I'll give you a scenario.
Yeah, please do.
And we love you so much, Danielle. But
you're going to bring her up.
I'm going to use her as an example.
Okay.
She's okay with it.
Yeah.
So, when you went in the other day to get your hair cut, we were casually talking about her career choices. And she was given an opportunity. A gentleman crossed her path and said, they got to talking about yoga or whatever. And he said, I have a space you can use during the day, and was willing to let her utilize the space for her own yoga classes. And her knee-jerk response was her monkey mind saying, I don't know this man from Adam.
What's the trick?
I'm not doing it. What's the writing?
What's the catch?
What's the fine print, so to speak? So she was on guard. And that's because in her physical awareness and in her construct right now, she's not given herself permission to become the yoga instructor full time that she truly desires to be. And so when an opportunity did present itself that could have very well been a viable opportunity, she had a very closed and conservative perspective about it and didn't even let herself go and put together a meeting with this guy and ask more questions or explore it further. She was just like, oh, no, there's weird energy there.
Yeah.
And it's not an opportunity. And, what if? That's all monkey mind.
Agreed.
She didn't even allow herself to schedule a meeting in a safe place. The weird energy she was feeling was not his. It was her own.
Oh, yeah.
It was her own energy of not giving herself permission to have this thing that she subconsciously thinks is not something that she can have yet.
Yeah.
She hasn't given herself permission to have it.
Right.
Without being in the shadows of somebody else that already has it.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part about it, is how complex those voices are.
So that knee-jerk reaction was not a healthy knee-jerk reaction in that scenario that I've provided.
I agree.
And so sometimes there's got to be some inner work done so that you can even see the opportunities that are being presented to you and realize what the next action step would be. So in that scenario, realizing, okay, you know what? My first interpretation was, this feels weird and unusual, but I'm going to flag it as it's not safe because I don't know the person, rather than saying, wait a minute, this could be a viable opportunity. And even if what comes up is the monkey mind saying, okay, this is a male, I'm a female, I want to meet with this individual, I want to find out more, but let's do it in a strategical manner. Let me take someone with me. Let's meet in a public place and actually have a business meeting. Let me ask the questions I need to ask, get to know this individual. Instead of having that kind of constructive conversation with herself and acting upon the opportunity possibility, she immediately shut it down and said, the energy was weird. Maybe I'll look at it, maybe whatever. And in that scenario, her knee-jerk response was not the best response because she closed herself off to potential possibilities.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to earlier was in that Watson Riley study, that's what they talk about is if it's a negative knee-jerk response, that is attached to some kind of a negative history or belief or something behind it.
Within yourself that's having the response.
Because if it's a happy, quick response, that's generally the right, perfect, because it's a good, happy spot and you don't have any negative beliefs or anything behind it, and that knee-jerk response is almost always the right one.
That's right.
Then if there's something that you need to look at, you're not going to get like mad and upset about it, or get bothered by it or come up with these monkey mind responses. You're going to ask more questions. Naturally, you're going to say, hesitate. So like for this example you have, instead of, her having that knee-jerk response because there's some kind of a negative belief behind it, like the other day yesterday when we talked about our stuff, she was all excited about it immediately.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have any negative responses.
Yeah.
And on this guy, there was negative responses. That means there's some kind of history within her.
Right.
And then if it's something that you need to look at, you're going to have logical questions to ask.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying, and that's what we teach too. And that's how you identify those voices on those internal voices is by looking at those things. So if there's something that comes into your reality in a voice, and if it's a logical question that you bring that comes to your mind, then logically ask the question. But if it's a negative response, you need to stop and say, wait a minute, what am I?
Logically ask what question?
Whatever it is, whatever that comes up. So,
I see.
If something comes up and you're not upset about it, but you're not unhappy about it, all you do is have questions, and then there's something that you need to look at or ask more questions about because you're either A, you're interested and you want to know more about it, or B, there's something you look at within you.
I see.
And if they say there's any kind of a negative response, they actually teach to go ahead and continue with the motion because it's going to come up to them that it's something on them.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get confused with those inner voices.
It's something on them, meaning it's something on the customer.
Yeah, something that they need to look at. It's not the salesperson's fault. It's there's some kind of, they've had some kind of a negative history or whatever. And I think it's a very good example on how to handle the internal voices. And if you have just a knee-jerk response or, wait a minute, you just have that knee-jerk response that's happy and feel good, then that's probably the right answer.
Yeah.
Then just do it.
Right.
Don't be scared. Don't let your monkey mind come in.
Right.
Don't let your subconscious mind come in. And definitely don't go talking to everybody about it.
Yeah.
Because, then now you're not only taking your internal voices, you're taking all theirs as well.
Yeah, and that's right. That's definitely right. We always say when you have an idea, keep it to yourself for a little while.
Yep.
And marinate with it, especially if you're trying to make a decision on whether to act on it.
Right.
Because the last thing you need is a bunch of outsider naysayers or people coming in.
You don't want all their history coming into your decision making.
Telling their red flags about their personal experiences with a similar situation. You don't need all that garbage.
And that is the number one deterrent of successful business, by the way. Is people that
external involvement.
They ask the wrong people.
Yeah.
They'll bring, like, a prime example is the gentleman that we used to work with years ago that would go ask the wrong people questions.
Right.
And get all the negative and all the red flags and everything that they could possibly give them because of their history and their beliefs.
Right. And then he would make a decision.
And then he would view them as expert decisions, as expert
Yep.
Witnesses.
Right. And then wonder why his reality keeps looking the same
way. And you keep going to the same experts.
Right. Exactly.
And so that's what the point. And so that's why, I went to a seminar here many years ago about this same business decision-making purpose, which I've used it in my personal life for many, many years.
Yeah, do tell.
And that is, if I have a logical question about something, no matter what, I go to somebody smarter than me that is an expert in that field. Because you can pick up the phone, say you have a legal advice, or nowadays we have AI. You can pick up the phone and ask.
Yeah.
And AI is going to give you generalized, across the, how it's coded questions.
Especially if you give it a command that you want it to become.
I want you to become the best attorney in the world.
The best analyst in the world. Go out, collect the information.
Put on that hat and let me know when you're ready.
That's right.
And that's where we as humans, society, get confused in life about a lot of things. You have the marketing that's wrong, bad. You have, you're not been taught the proper way. And it's the number one holder of success, by the way, is that internal voice. It keeps you from being successful because you do not know how to listen to them properly.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's right.
Because not once in my life.
If you think about it, way back when, the whole goal for the collective primarily was to get that person programmed to be a factory worker, long-time employee type concept for the business owner because it made sense.
Yep.
So they sold the whole, be okay with just standing in one place being a factory worker because you're going to get your pension when you've worked with us for 152,000 years. And you get to retire and you'll have a good pension. And that's how it was programmed because it was a better construct for the business owner. No turnover, longevity, all of that. Not because it was the best thing for the person. And so we were taught over time to ignore the intuitive side or that creative side that says, I really don't like standing here all day, shutting these lids and taping them together. I would really like to explore doing something different.
590,000 a day, doing the same. I could not do that. I could not live in that world.
692 years later.
Right. Here's some.
I get my pension and can retire, but I'm too old to enjoy it because I'm 110 years old and I can't walk anymore.
Did you know that many years ago, during the Reagan administration, he actually stopped the law where actually the government paid through grants people to reimburse their commercials.
What? What is that? What does that have to do with anything?
So it used to be back when television first got live and stuff.
Yeah.
That the government wanted the employers to buy spots so it could grow the televisions.
Okay.
Grow televisions in the spots, and it caused they're having them expand the television network through giving businesses grants to reimburse themselves from to advertise on television.
Okay, so the business goes, they pay for their commercial spot.
Yes.
They run their commercial, but then they get that money back from the government
Through a grant. And that went on
so
until...
that more businesses would go on and do commercials to grow the television experience.
Yep, and that bill and that grant was under a tax grant because it taught people to like what they were seeing on TV, stay an employee for a long time, sell more cars, and so everything
went back to
taxes.
Oh, I see.
And
behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's behind the scenes.
Taxes were being used to develop this grant.
And the reason why I did it is because they realized that they got more money back than they were putting out in the grants. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you had a Chevy dealership, did Chevy commercial to buy Chevrolets, the government gets the employee tax, the business tax, the sales tax. Really think about that. The consumer taxes.
So the grant was small compared to what they got in return. The upsells,
right? And what they did,
the increase of people buying the sales because of the commercial.
Yes,
and the taxes on all those different aspects.
That's right. And the reason why I brought that up is because it's the manipulation of your internal minds as well used to be completely government funded. And that's what you got to realize. You should have logical thought processes. And the people have a tendency to not take chances because of negatives, never positive. Never once can I look at you dead in the eye and say that I went and did something. I went and learned to scuba dive and dive with the sharks in Hawaii. But yet I had a negative thought process about it.
Right, exactly. Now, I can tell you that there were some healthy reservations around the unknown.
Yeah.
But they didn't consume me.
Right.
You know, like with scuba diving, which is a very good example.
Go ahead.
There were moments in it where I was like, oh, yikes. I got to go underwater and trust this thing in my mouth that I'm not going to take in a lungful of water and that I can
there was ever fear, though.
It wasn't fear. It was just very heavy concern.
Yeah. But anyway, so to kind of tie this all together is to make you guys understand that the internal voices are there for a reason. If you have in anything that you're doing in your life, I'm not saying you got to do it now, but if you have something that comes up and you have your knee-jerk response is happy, feel good, it's generally going to be 93% of the time, or 94% of the time is what that study was, the right decision.
Yeah.
Now, if you have something negative, if it's a negative knee-jerk response, then you have history with that subject.
Yeah.
And you should look at it and then go back and retouch on that same topic.
Right. And so the ruling here today is if you're trying to decide between an intuitive thought and a monkey mind thought, go back to the place of how does it make you feel?
The energy behind it. Correct.
And check in with that.
Yep. I agree. 100%.
Yep.
I feel complete.
Very good.
Well, anyway, guys, hey, thank you all for listening today. If you'd like the chance to really do something cool, like, follow, and share us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on any of the podcasts. Share the podcast with other people. You can look up the website at www.themerckcenters.org, and you know how to spell it by now if you don't listen. If you're new to listening, go back and look at another one. You'll hear me spell it.
Yeah, I try to put it in the description every once in a while.
It's in the description, too. And also, you can check out the new app that's going to be rolling out that I just got told today. The next upgrade is going to be the beta. And the new rollout to our test flight.
Yeah.
It's going to be the beta.
We're just days away from going into beta, so we're waiting with
for phase one of
beta breath.
We're wah, wah, wah. That was a terrible joke.
Oh, it was perfectly beautiful. I loved it. It tickled my fancy.
www.lucidiumworld.com. And all you got to do is Google search Lucidium World. It's going to pop up because it's everywhere. Also, coming up soon is Jenny and I. Dr. Jenny and I are going to be interviewed for Brains Magazine.
Yeah, very exciting. Because
we're brains.
We're excited about that.
We're smarters. We're more martyrs than everybody else.
We're martyr and martyr.
We're martyr and martyr.
It's because we eat Marties all the time.
Anyway, guys, be paying attention to that, and we'll definitely feed it into our website and into all the blogs and stuff. And don't forget to check out Jenny's blog at To the Edge and Back on Blogger with Dr. Jenny. And then my book just dropped.
Yeah.
Unlocked from Prison to Purpose in 30-Day Challenge. It's available on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
And so
I got the email that my first edition of the series children's book has been dropped as well.
Oh, it dropped. Oh, you did get it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you'd seen it.
It was ready to go.
So, because I submitted that, 2 days ago?
I don't know, but it's available.
I do good work. I mean, look at all the stuff this is happening because of what I do.
I know, right?
Just kidding.
You're busy as a beaver. But yeah my first book on the children's series is dropped and ready to go, you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. And we are live in person speaking at Ozark Research Institute, April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah.
At the Hilton Grand Yeah, we'll be. We are this live. We close out the show on the 3-hour lecture keynote speaker for their annual Power of Thought School.
Yeah, yeah.
Jenny and I will be teaching about the power of beliefs, and we may throw in a little side twist in there, so be tuned into that. And if you want tickets to that, you can get those at www.ori.org, and that is Ozark Research Institution.org.
Yeah, very good.
And those are on sale now. I looked at them yesterday. All those tickets are on sale.
Yeah, I'll try to put all that in the description thing, all those little links.
Right, and it looks like we may be the next week in Springfield, Missouri. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, because we're going to start hitting the convention tour now.
Yeah.
Because we're getting ready to roll the app, and so we'll be putting it out. And don't forget, I will be available for aura readings, and Dr. Jenny will be available for sessions as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And we look forward to seeing you. Thank you all for listening, and we hope you all have one awesome day.
Love ya.